here, I've been able to reach. So by my time here, it's 10 o'clock and we are about to start this session proper. Good morning, everyone. For those of us not in Nigeria, okay, all of us are in Nigeria. Good morning to you all, and thank you for joining this session by Rockwheels Limited, entitled Demystifying Business Law. My name is Eza Folukwe Peace. I'm the founder of Open House. I'm a business person myself, and I'm building a startup that is trying to be the digital hub for real estate in Africa, bringing together enthusiasts in the space so that they can discuss about the problems we face in the real estate in Africa and provide solutions to them. So you see why I'm heavily vested in the business law. As a business person myself, I know the importance of law in what I'm building. And I'm glad to be guiding the session today and learning from the person of Dr. Efi on how I can demystify business law for what I'm building. And today we are going to be looking into demystifying business law. It's going to be a thorough expose, and we are going to learn a lot. At the end of today, I'm sure that everyone will leave here with several nuggets we are going to use in our own establishment. For those of us that want to be entrepreneurs, we are going to get so much from the webinar today. To begin with, we will be starting with the opening prayer, the national anthem. Yes, the new national anthem, or do I call it the old national anthem? For those of you that have not learned it, this would be a good opportunity for us to learn to recite this. So I'm sure the tech team is on standby. Whenever you're ready, we can do that now.
Nigeria, we hail thee, our own dear native land. No tribe and tongue may differ, in brotherhood we stand. Nigeria, tall and proud to serve our sovereign motherland. Our flag shall be our symbol, that truth and justice reign. In peace, all power to honor, and this we count as gain. To hand unto our children, our banner we all say. Oh God of all creation, grant this our one request. Help us to build a nation where no man is oppressed. And so with peace and plenty, Nigeria shall be blessed.
Thank you very much, everyone. And I'm sure that for those of us that haven't learned it yet, we're able to learn one or two stanzas from the anthem. Moving on, we'll be having the welcome address by the president of Rockwheels Limited, Mr. Olusegun E. Olaniyi. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much, Peace, for that wonderful opening. Good morning, everyone joining us from across the nation. Happy Independence to us. It is my pleasure to actually welcome us all to this important webinar on demystifying business law. My name is Olusegun E. Olaniyi, and I am the founder and president of Rockwheels Limited. Today, we are gathered to explore the complexity in the world of business law. It is a topic that is very crucial for success, business success, and sustainability. So at Rockwheels Limited, our mission is to empower businesses through innovative solutions and fostering growth to ensure long-term success for ventures. So understanding the legal landscape is actually fundamental for all businesses to thrive in times like this. So Whether you are a seasoned entrepreneur, you are an emerging startup, or you are a professional navigating the corporate world, having a solid grasp of business law can be a game changer for you, because business law impacts every aspect of your venture, from formation to governance to compliance and even dispute resolution. Yet it is one of the thing or one of the topic that is being neglected. It's often remained daunting and even misunderstood in most of the field. So the essence of this webinar is to break down those barriers, providing you with the knowledge and tools to navigate legal challenges with confidence and clarity. I would also like to extend my heartfelt appreciation to our esteemed facilitator, Dr. Ife, Dr. Barrister Ife, who has agreed to share our expertise with us today. Our insight will be invaluable as we delve into the topic, such as contract law, intellectual property, regulatory compliance, and much more. I would like to appreciate also our session leader, Peace. Thank you for all that you do. Thank you for your time, and thank you for the sacrifice. Of course, I would also like to appreciate each and every one of us on the call. We are because you are. So we are not going to be here if you had not registered. Hear me?
Sir, you can proceed. We can hear you now.
Okay. So as I said earlier, I said we are going to be having much experience from this perspective, because we have someone who actually has a vast knowledge from this field. So I would like to extend my appreciation to the facilitator who is going to do justice to this. And I would like to reiterate that understanding business law is not just about avoiding pitfalls. It's also about empowering your business, empowering your venture to thrive within the legal framework. So let us embark on this journey together and demystify business law for the betterment of our enterprise. I am sure that on the course of this session, we're going to have some break time, and our facilitator will attend to, if not all the questions, maybe because of time, you can drop your question and we'll always find a way to send it across to her. Please, if you're not speaking, I advise that you mute your mic, and when you're asked to speak, you unmute and speak. And if you know that your environment is noisy, it is advisable that you mute your mic and then you drop your question in the chat room. I am sure our session leader, Peace Ezeafolukwe, will do justice to pick your question and present it to our facilitator. Thank you once again for joining us today. I wish you all an enlightening and productive session.
Thank you very much, Sir Olusegun. It's always very interesting to listen to you speak. The energy is purely contagious. Great. So moving on now, we'll be reading introducing our speaker, our facilitator for today, the person of Dr. Efesi Anaoge. Dr. Efesi Anaoge is a human rights activist, a gender equity advocate, and a human capital development expert. The founder and CEO of Warrior Rose Foundation, she empowers women and girls through education, advocacy, and support services. She has over 30 years of experience in non-profit management and human rights activism, and has partners with the United Nations, ECOWAS, and international agencies to promote gender equality and social justice. A serial entrepreneur, she has also founded Warrior Rose Academy, promoting diversity and inclusivity in education. She's a certified anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing and anti-corruption compliance manager, and she has led regional and national forums on anti-money laundering and counter-terrorism financing. She is an award-winning humanitarian, trained in the humanitarian services and non-governmental organization management. She has been recognized for her contribution to women's empowerment and human rights and was appointed G100 Nigerian country chair on domestic abuse. She has also won 3 gold medals from the Roxburgh Institute of Social Entrepreneurship. Just a brief story here. I got to know. I've been admiring Dr. Efe from a distance when I was doing my brief stint with Roxburgh Academy, and she was also a learner. She was also learning with us, but she was almost like a trainer there because whenever she contributes during sessions, it's usually very impactful. When she gives legal insight for us that are building organizations, it's usually very engaging. And I'm glad that today we would have a whole full hour to pick her brains, to learn from her, and to get the best about demystifying business law from Dr. Efe and Naogi. So once more, everyone, if your hands are not too busy, let's share our reactions. Let's give a round of applause in the comments section as we welcome on stage Dr. Efe to take the mic right about now. Dr. Efe, over to you, ma'am.
Well, what can I say? This is interesting. I listened to you and I'm wondering, who are you talking about? You know, and maybe me? Well, thank you for this privilege, of coming to address this amazing sets of people. And is it possible for somebody to mute their mic? Somebody's mic is on. Okay, I think that was Julio. Okay, thank you for that. All right, so well, Gloria's hand is up. I don't know, maybe you would want to find out what the issue is.
Yeah, good to hear from you this morning. Good morning, everyone. Thank
Oh,
you.
Pastor Gloria,
Yeah.
nice to have you in the house. Okay, so thank you all. Like I said, it's a massive privilege to be here. And for peace, of course, I have seen you in the house, and of course, Shebu will tell you that I'm a massive admirer of all of you. I've heard you, give your contributions. And yes, you appear quiet sometimes, but when he told me you were going to speak, I was like, that firebrand young lady that used to go, and very passionate about what she does, And he said, yeah, that's you. And I said, wow, I've also been an admirer, and I have to say that, so thank you for having me. All right, without much ado, we do have a lot to cover. And just jump right in when you need a break. Sometimes when I start, I generally don't check time. And no, I will not be offended. So some ground rules. Um, you'll pardon me, from time to time, I may cough. If you notice, my mouth was moving. It wasn't chewing gum. It was sweet. I've had a cough, but I didn't want to cancel this. I was insistent on being here. So once in a while, when I do that, you people understand what I'm doing. And when you see my mouth moving, you know that it is not chewing gum. It is definitely a menthol to help keep the cough at bay so that it doesn't constantly interrupt what I'm saying. So, having said that, um, I also want all phones on silent. Please, if your phone is not on silent, I want to encourage you to do that. Mute all your mics because interference sometimes is a distraction. Not sometimes, it is always a distraction. And many times other people don't get to hear what the speaker is saying. So having said that, all questions, of course, should be directed at the moderator and Mr. Olani, of course. And that would also be sent to me. So thank you very much for that. If you are so eager, get a notepad. I always say that. Everyone that knows me will say, she says, get a notepad. Why? Because I do not do PowerPoints, I do Power Notes. Should I repeat that? I do not do PowerPoints, I do Power Notes. So it means that there's going to be a lot of notes to take. So please get your notepad so that you can always reference it. And if for whatever reason you can't get to me, Shagun, please call because network sometimes you just keep talking and you think you're connecting. Meanwhile, people are not hearing what you're saying, So having said that, thank you once again. Demystifying business law. which I also gave a subtitle of Navigating the Legal Landscape for Business Success. It is very, very important that we understand. Somebody's mic is on. I think that's Telema. Telema Obi, could you please mute your mic? Thank you very much. Okay. We gave, you are admin, so you can mute everybody's mic, please. Please, you can mute everyone's mic. You can mute everyone's mic because you're both admins. Sometimes people forget and then end up leaving their mics on. So, the introduction question. We're talking about demystifying business law in Nigeria. I want to give a brief overview of our objectives. What do we hope to achieve? Well, number one, we want to provide an overview of the legal framework governing business in Nigeria. That's number one. We also want to demystify, as we have said, complex legal concepts and terminologies. Things that you may be wondering, what does this mean, and stuff like that. We want to equip entrepreneurs, business owners, and professionals, as all of you are here, with the knowledge and skills necessary to navigate the legal landscape in Nigeria. And our scope basically is to cover the legal structure for business in Nigeria, sole proprietorship, partnerships, limited liability companies, which you see as LLC, public limited company, PLC, starting a business in Nigeria. And if I'm too fast, please just stop me, because sometimes that's how I talk naturally. I talk fast, but I will try to pace it. But just say you're way too fast, or you let the moderator know that, and then she will communicate with me. Like I said, just jump right in and say, "Ma'am, could you slow down?" I will. Now, starting a business in Nigeria. Remember, we're talking about the scope we're covering. Starting a business in Nigeria: registration, licenses, permits, the employment law in Nigeria, because of course you hope to grow and employ someone, labor relations, workers' rights, employers' obligations, then your intellectual property, how do you protect it in Nigeria? Trademarks, patents, copyrights, industrial designs, taxation, all taxation. Then, of course, it's not possible to do business without sometimes having issues. So, what is the dispute resolution in Nigeria? Litigation, arbitration, mediation, conciliation, what are this? Now, what I'm hoping to do is to provide a practical guide, to business law, something really practical. Everyone who knows me one-on-one will tell you I'm a hands-on person. I will try not to be too technical in using legal terms so that I don't, confuse you more. What we want to do at Rockwheels is also to empower participants to make informed decisions and navigate the legal landscape, confidence. And I believe that's the idea. Can you still hear me, or am I on shaky grounds?
Yes, ma'am, we can hear you, although it was twitching a bit earlier, but we can hear you now.
Okay. All right. So now the overview of business law in Nigeria. Naturally, before you start anything, you have to give a definition, so that people understand exactly what you're referring to. So business law, which is also known as commercial law, refers to the body of laws and regulations that govern business transactions, operations, and relationships in Nigeria. We're talking about Nigeria here. It encompasses various legal aspects, including contracts, company formation, employment, intellectual property, taxation, and of course, dispute resolution, which we talked about earlier. Now, why is this important in Nigeria? Why is it important to cover these issues? Number one, regulatory compliance. Business law ensures companies operate within legal boundaries, avoiding legal issues and penalties. Number two, protection of rights. It safeguards the interests of businesses, of investors, and individuals, preventing fraud and unfair practices. Number three, it promotes trade and investments. A clear and stable legal framework, of course, attracts foreign investment, fosters economic growth, and enhances Nigeria's competitiveness. And that is why it's important, because Nigeria is a corporate entity on its own, but it requires its citizens and people doing business in Nigeria to be able to compete with the world, because it is an inanimate, corporate entity. So you can't feel it, you can't touch it. But through its citizens, through people that do business in Nigeria, Nigeria can compete with the outside world. So it enhances Nigeria's competitiveness. And of course, when it comes to resolving disputes, remember, we're talking about crucial reasons why it's important to understand the business law. Business law provides mechanisms for resolving commercial disputes, reducing the risk of costly litigation, and it supports economic development. By regulating business activities, it contributes to Nigeria's economic growth, job creation and poverty reduction. Can you still hear me? It protects consumers. Somebody's mic is on. I was also muted, so let me unmute myself. I don't know who keeps doing that, but don't worry. As often as you do it, I will mute myself. It's better that way, because sometimes people inadvertently, press the mic and then just go on doing other things. So it protects consumers. Business law ensures business comply with consumer protection laws, safeguarding consumer rights and interests. And finally, it encourages entrepreneurship. So a favorable business legal environment encourages entrepreneurship, innovation, and small business growth. So, of course, in Nigeria, we have key laws and regulations which govern businesses, but the major one is the CAMA, the Companies and Allied Matters Act. And of course, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission Act. That's number two. And number three, Consumer Protection Council Act, among others. I hope you got that. But I'm sure our host is this recorded?
Yes, it is, ma. Yes, it is.
Okay, fantastic, because I think it will help people a lot more. So by understanding and complying with business law, businesses in Nigeria can operate effectively, can minimize legal risk, and can contribute to the country's economic development. Of course, I believe in going back in history to the present and what is the future. So I'm just going to say that in just one line. What is the history? The pre-colonial era, which is before Nigeria independence, traditional legal systems. When I say pre-colonial, I'm referring to before Nigeria was colonized. That's what I'm referring to. We had traditional legal systems governed trade and commerce in various Nigerian societies, such as the Hausa, the Yoruba, the Igbos. We dealt with cowries and some other things, and trade by barter. Customary laws and practices regulated business transactions, debts, and disputes. At that time, trade and commerce flourished in cities like Kano, Katsina, Kaduna, Ibadan, rivers, and all that. Now, during the colonial era, the British colonial rule introduced English law. And I'm referring to from when the colonial masters came, which replaced our traditional legal system. The British imposed their own legal framework, including the Companies Ordinance 1912 and the Trademarks Ordinance 1916. The colonial government established courts to adjudicate commercial disputes. Nigerian businesses were subject to British law with limited local input, of course. Then comes the post-colonial era. So after independence, Nigeria began to develop its own legal system. We had the Companies Act, which is 1968, and the Investment and Promotion Decree in 1972, which was enacted. The Nigerian Enterprise Promotion Decree, 1972, aimed to promote indigenous entrepreneurship. The Companies and Allied Matters Act, 1990, which was a comprehensive business law, was now enacted. Now, for post-colonial Nigeria, the laws continue to evolve, business laws continue to evolve, and reforms and updates until we got to today, which is the CAMA 2020. I don't know how many of us are aware that the old CAMA law has been repealed, the one of 1990. Now we're doing the 2020. And it's important that we know some of these things. Now, in 1979, the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, was established. In 1995, the Consumer Protection Council was established. In 2007, the Nigerian Stock Exchange was demutualized. Of course, brought in more people, to trade. And in 2020, which is our latest baby in town, the Companies and Allied Matters Act was amended to improve the business environment. Now, our focus will be on the 2020. This is important because some people wonder, oh, we're going to history. Why are we doing that? We're highlighting the evolution of business law in Nigeria, from traditional system to colonial imposition, and eventually the development of our own legal framework. Now, the key legislation and regulations, governing businesses in Nigeria, I have told you, Investment and Securities Act, Companies Allied Act. I want to start off with speaking on companies. Yes, company law. Key areas of business in Nigeria, slide 3. I want to believe on slide 3 now. Thank you very much. We are going to slide 3. Yes, thank you very much. That's it. Company law. Now, the formation, the registration, the incorporation, structure, shareholders, directors, management meetings, resolutions, reporting. Now, when you talk about company law in Nigeria, it is also known as the corporate law. So when you hear company law, corporate law, they are one and the same. And it deals with the formation, the structure, management of companies in Nigeria. It regulates the relationship between shareholders, directors, employees, and stakeholders or other stakeholders in the company. Now, for formation, these are the areas you need to shut out any outside noise and concentrate. For formation, we're talking registration. Companies must register with the Corporate Affairs Commission and obtain a certificate of incorporation. Incorporation, which is the process of creating a new company, which involves drafting memorandum and articles of association. What is the structure? Shareholders, owners of the company who hold shares and have rights to vote and receive dividends. Those are the owners of the company, the shareholders. Who are the directors? The directors are appointed by shareholders to manage the company's affairs. Management, they are responsible for the day-to-day operations of the company. Now, for management meetings, we have the annual general meetings and extraordinary general meetings. That's the AGMs, the EGMs for shareholders, as well as board meetings for directors. Resolutions, decisions made by shareholders. That is what a resolution is. Someone may be wondering, what is a resolution? It's a decision made by shareholders or directors, such as appointing directors or approving financial statements. All right. Reporting. Companies must file annual financial statements and other reports with the CAC, which is the Corporate Affairs Commission. Now, the company law in Nigeria is primarily governed. I repeat, the company law in Nigeria is primarily governed by the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020, which is CAMA. Did you get that? Of course, the former one was 1990, which was repealed, and in 2020, which is just less than 4 years ago, because we're in 2004, 2024 now, the law was improved on. Reforms were introduced, and this was to ease business, in Nigeria. That was the intention. Promoting corporate governance and enhancing regulatory framework. Now, what is a contract? Contract laws. My contract, and here we're going to be dealing with types of contracts, sales, employment services, drafting and negotiation, enforcement and dispute resolution. I don't know, are you still with me?
Yes, ma'am, I can still hear you.
Oh, thank God. My network is acting well today. That's good. Okay, I want to hear from anybody else in the house. Can anyone else in the house hear me other than our esteemed moderator?
Loud and clear, ma'am.
Yeah, loud and clear.
Yes,
Thank you very
we
much.
can
And
hear
I
you,
hope
ma.
Can hear
good.
you.
I like that. And I hope you're all taking notes. Are we taking
Sure.
notes? Yes, we are.
Yes, sure, we're doing that.
Fantastic. All right, so contract law in Nigeria is a branch of law that governs the formation performance. It means that when you have created your company, you now need a law that will be in place, or you need a document that will be in place to govern or to tell you how you are going to implement. That is why it's called the performance. So it governs the formation and performance and enforcement of agreements between parties. If two people want to go into a contract, or rather, if two people want to start a company, you require a contract of sorts. What are the terms of going into a partnership? Because that is a partnership, and that is a contract. So the contract law governs that formation, I repeat again, performance, and of course, enforcement of agreement between parties. So it regulates the rights and obligations of parties entering into various types of contracts. All right. Now, there are different types of contracts. Remember, we're talking about business law. So I have restricted a lot of things I'm saying here to generic things. It's not specific, it is generic to business laws. Number one, sales contracts. So it relates to the sale and purchase of goods or service. Employment contracts. Remember, I said if I'm too fast, please let me know. Employment contracts. It governs the relationship between employers and employees. Then we have the service contracts. This covers agreement for services such as consulting or construction. Those are service-based. So anything service-based, that's what it covers. For those in QHES, did I get that right? Shegun. In safety, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we know that is a service contract. So drafting and negotiation, very important. And the process of preparing a contract document, that is drafting. Negotiation is the process of agreeing on the terms and conditions of the contract. Drafting is the process of preparing a contract document. Negotiation is the process of agreeing on the terms and conditions of the contract. Now, for enforcement and dispute resolution, the process of compelling performance or payment under a contract, that is enforcement. To compel performance or payment under a contract, that is enforcement. Remember, we're talking about enforcement and dispute resolution. Now, for dispute resolution, there are different types. We have the litigation, which is the court proceedings, which a lot of you are familiar with. We have arbitration. Excuse me, most of you may, some of you may or may not be aware of it, but we'll just scratch the surface of some of these things. We won't go too deep into it. We have mediation, we have conciliation. Now, for contract formation, the contract law is governed by the Contract Act. There's a Contract Act, Cap C 14 LFN 2004. Now I'm going into legal jargon, but it's important I just say it. The Contract Act, Cap C 14 LFN 2004, and the Sale of Goods Act, Cap S6 LFN 2004. Again, the Sale of Goods Act, Cap S6 LFN 2004. The law provides guidelines for contract formation. In these laws, in this act, it provides guidelines for contract formation, offer, acceptance, consideration. It has to be expressive. You need to be explicit. So express implied conditions. Express or implied. Totally closure. If there is an implied act to show that you want to enter into, through your actions, that you want to enter into a contract, it is valid under the law. Conditions: contract performance, obligations, breach, contract termination, rescission, repudiation, dispute resolution mechanisms. Now, understanding contract law is crucial for business and definitely for individuals in Nigeria. So ensure that agreements are legally binding, they are enforceable, and they meet their intended purposes. Very important. Very, very important. Like I said, I'm just going to be touching on some things. I can't go deep into too many things. If not, I'm going to be teaching a whole semester, so lecture here, but I'm trying to pack in as much as I can. So I hope I'm making some sense, and I haven't lost any of you. Am I making sense?
Yes,
Hello. Okay, because everybody just went silent on me. All right, so there's the employment law. Now, under employment law, we have labor relations, employer-employee rights and obligations, the workers' rights, minimum wage, leave, termination, employer obligations, taxes, safety. I know Shagun will smile at this. Am I right? I think I can see you already smiling where you are. You're not even smiling. You're laughing. So you see, you are covered in the law. Is that a good thing? Oh my goodness.
yes,
You're
it
going to take
is.
it out on, you're going to take it out on a lot of companies. They're in trouble. Yeah. So safety, health, intellectual property law, which covers patents, trademarks, copyrights, industrial designs. You get that? Now, employment law in Nigeria regulates the relationship between employees and employers. It governs their rights, it governs obligations, it governs responsibilities. Now, I just want to give you a little insight. Now, for labor relations, employer-employee rights and obligations include employment contracts. Remember, we have talked about contracts earlier and what governs contracts. Offer, acceptance, consideration. I hope you have not forgotten that. Okay, we have employment contracts. A quick digression. A very massive big company. Big company. If I call the name of the company in Nigeria, you will all know it. And the HR approached me because they had a dilemma. And one of their top management staff was going to take the matter to court. So they consulted with me. And then they asked. And I asked, was he given an employment contract?
I'm hungry like a stupid.
All right. I don't know what stupid is about, but take it easy. All right. So I was telling you about the company. So they consulted with me and I asked, did you give an employment contract? And they said, each time they attempted for him to sign the employment contract, he kept saying, oh, he will get back. He will get back. And the young man who was in the HR's office, who was supposed to enforce the signing and bring back the signed copy, who was a far junior officer to this top management staff, will just constantly go, sir, come back again. He will say, don't worry, I will send it to you. Go, 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 I'm busy. And then weeks ran into months and months ran into years. And then boom, there was a big challenge. He had a problem with the company. And the company decided that they were going to let him off. Sack him, that's it. And then he came up and said, how can you sack me? Did you give me an employment letter? And then his lawyer began to come up with, of course, using the law to try to circumvent what he had done, which was very huge, almost taking the company to the cleaners. And so when I was approached, I said, do you have a paper trail? And the HR asked, what is my paper trail? Did you at any time ever remind him of signing the contract? And then they began to dig and they found several emails where he was constantly reminded to sign the employment contract and send it back. Where he responded and apologized for delaying the signing and that he would get back to them. And they had about 7 to 10 of those emails. And I said, boom, you have gotten in. The law is black and white, but sometimes where there's an impasse, the law deals with technicalities. You see that? And so the law will not allow anybody to take advantage of the law for personal gain. And so the company was able to sack him. And he could do nothing about it. Because the employment, the back and forth email and some of the recorded conversations, which I had told the HR to do years ago. I said, anytime you are having some very important conversations, please record them. If it has to do with company, so that you don't fall into wrong hands. And those recordings will only come to bear if there's a problem. Well, if there's no problem, it should be kept in the archive. Now, if it's a private business transaction, please do not record without clearance or permission from the other party. It is against the law. You have to remember that there are checks and balances. So we have to be careful what we do and how we go about what we're doing. All right, so I talked about the Labor Act, employee rights, contracts, working conditions, discipline and grievance procedures. That's what labor covers. Now, for workers' rights, minimum wage, ensuring a fair compensation. Leave, annual, sick, and maternity leave. Termination. I just told you about a termination sample now. Fair procedures for ending employment. Workers' rights. Now, what are you as what do you call it? As an employee, or rather an employer, what are your obligations? Number one, taxes, pay as you earn. and other statutory deductions. Pay as you earn, P-A-Y-E. Safety. I do know some people will smile again because you are in a very powerful profession. Safety. Why? It is required of every company to have a safety officer. But 99, okay, that's way too much. Let's just say 95% of Nigerian companies don't have that. So you in the safety space, you can go and pitch to them and tell them that they are going against it, they are circumventing the law. And if the law catches up with them, the fine will be huge. That's the truth. That's the truth. If anybody decides to go flag it. So safety, providing a safe working environment. Health, ensuring employees' physical and mental well-being. Now, we're moving on to intellectual property. This protects your creations and innovations, yeah, under patents, inventions, and industrial designs. These are the various classifications. Under patents, we have inventions and industrial designs. Under trademarks, we have logos, we have names, and we have symbols. Coca-Cola is one. Copyrights, what does it cover? Literary works, musical works, and artistic works. That's copyrights. Literary work, you are a writer, you wrote a book. All right? Industrial designs, aesthetic and functional designs. That's what intellectual property covers, industrial designs, aesthetic and functional designs. Now in Nigeria, employment law is governed by various legislation. Now you'll be wondering, oh, I want to register a business. I don't want to go into employment. My brother, my sister, if you intend to grow big, you will employ someone someday. And all of these things will apply to you, even if your employee is just one person in your company. So you would do well to listen, to take notes, and to be able to apply what you're hearing now. It will go a long way. Yeah. So now we have various legislation that governs the laws, employment laws in Nigeria. Number one, which everybody knows, the Labor Act. Unfortunately, it has not been reviewed, is the Labor Act of 2004. Labor Act of 2004, Cap L1, LFN 2004. We have Employment Conditions of Service. We have Trade Disputes Act 2004. Employment Conditions of Service Act 2004. Intellectual property laws, which includes the Patents and Designs Act, Cap P2 LFN 2004. Trademarks Act, Cap T13. I'm calling this so that you can search them out yourself. Trademark Act, Cap T113, that's T13, T13, LFN 2004. And the Copyright Act, Cap C28, LFN 2004. Those are the laws that are governing the legislation that were passed, governing those. So that's to tell you that this is the most recent law. In other words, since 2004, how many years is that? We're in 2024. That's 20 years ago, right? Can the mathematicians in the house respond, please? Am I talking to myself?
20 years ago.
What?
20 years ago.
20 years ago. It means that,
20 years ago, man.
yes, it means that for 20 years, we have not reviewed our laws. We have not. It is that bad. So these are some of the things that we're looking into. Okay, when you answer, please mute your mics. Remember to mute your mic. Okay, our amazing compare. Okay, I guess that's the only way to get it done. I should be afraid of asking questions because when you answer, you forget to mute your mic. So now this laws, what does it do? It aims to balance the interest of employers and employees. It promotes fair labor practices and it protects intellectual property rights. I don't even want to go into the lacuna, the gaps in that law. If I go into those gaps, you'll be shocked. But let's not go there. That's not what today is about. All right. So we come to tax law. What are the different types of laws? We have the income tax, we have VAT, value added tax, then we have the withholding tax. Compliance and reporting, incentives and exemptions. Yeah. Now, tax law in Nigeria is a body of laws and regulations that govern the imposition, collection, and administration of taxes in Nigeria. Now, what are the various taxes? We have the income tax, like I said. This tax is on individuals and companies' income and profits. Income and profits, that is the income tax. Income and profits for individuals and companies. The value added tax is tax on goods and services at each stage of production and distribution. Okay? Tax on goods and services at each stage of production and distribution. That is VAT, the value added tax. Now, the withholding tax. This is tax deducted at source from payments made to individuals and companies. Tax deducted at source. Most times, NGOs pay withholding tax. But again, this is not what we are about here. Now, we move to compliance and reporting. You need to file your tax returns. You need to make payments of these taxes, maintenance of tax records, compliance with tax laws and regulations, incentives and exemptions, tax holidays, investment incentives, duty waivers. Now, of course, exemptions for certain goods and services. In Nigeria, tax law is governed by various legislation. Now, listen carefully. Somebody say, is it not just one tax law? No. We have the Federal Inland Revenue Service, FIRS, which is very popular. You all know that. So it's governed by the Act, Federal Inland Revenue Service Act. We have the Nigerian Tax Administration Act. We have the Personal Income Tax Act, PITA. We have the Companies Income Tax Act, SITA. We have the Value Added Tax Act, VATA. Then we have the Stamp Duties Act. Now, the Federal Inland Revenue Tax Service is responsible for administering tax laws, yeah, and collecting taxes in Nigeria. So taxpayers are required to comply with tax laws and regulations, and the government offers incentives and exemptions to encourage investment and economic growth. Now, for tax law in Nigeria, it is subject to change and update, so you have to be ready for it. It is essential that you stay informed, and that is why it's important you seek the help of professionals. So seek professional advice to ensure compliance and optimize tax benefits. Yeah. Don't go to your accountant only when you want to file returns. Don't go to your lawyer only when you have a problem. Talk to your lawyer, talk to your accountant about what you want to do before you set foot and start doing it, so that he or they can instruct you, or they can encourage you, or they can guide you in a way that you will benefit a lot from tax exemptions and all of that. But if you just go ahead and you just boom, put all your eggs in one basket, well, all the best. That's all I have to say. It is subject to change. You need to keep an eye on the tax laws. Stay informed. And like I said, seek professional help. It is key. Now, if we want to go into the legal structure, our esteemed, thank you. The legal structure for business in Nigeria includes the sole proprietorship, Remember, I talked about this earlier. Now I want to say a few things more about it. I'm sure you are all wondering whether I've forgotten. No, I haven't. The sole proprietorship, which is the easiest and least costly type. That is, you can do that with business name, or business structure in Nigeria. Here, I will give you some advantages. I will give you some disadvantages. For those of you who are ready to register, and those of you who have already registered, you can weigh your options. Can these things be tweaked? Can things be readjusted in CAC? Of course, nothing is cast in stone. Always remember that. Now, in Nigeria, for registration and compliance requirements, for sole proprietorship, it is easy. I'm talking about advantages now. Of course, it's easy to establish and register. You're your own boss. You don't seek opinion of nobody else. You totally take control over the business. Yeah. Minimum legal requirements, minimum capital requirements. The profit belongs to you alone and nobody else. And when it comes to decision making, you don't need to consult nobody. You take all the decisions by yourself. Now, what are the disadvantages? Unlimited liability. Anything that happens is on you. If you secure a loss, you are the only one that bears the loss because you are the owner. You are the head, the feet, everything of the company. Limited access to capital and loans. Even banks, when they want to give money, they are careful and mindful of sole proprietorship. I have to let you know. Then, of course, there's the added disadvantage of no continuity after the owner's death. That's why you see many companies fold up. I don't want to give some famous names here, but you all can attest to the fact that there are some famous people today that their companies have gone down since they died, because the entire shares stayed in the family. Yes, these are disadvantages and advantages. Limited managerial skills. So you don't have a pool to help you. You can't pick, like, to borrow our esteemed moderators' words, you can't pick the brains of others. You have just yours and yours alone, Then, of course, you bear the burden of business risk all by yourself. Now, what is the registration and compliance requirement of a sole proprietorship? Business name registration with the Corporate Affairs Commission. You also will file annual tax returns. You will pay personal income tax. This has to do with sole proprietorship now. Your registration with the Federal Inland Revenue Service has to be intact, FIRS. Obtaining any necessary licenses and permits, compliance with all relevant laws and regulations. That's for sole proprietorship. Am I still communicating, moderator and Mr. Shegun? I think
Yes,
you're the only
ma'am.
one to
Yes,
answer
ma'am.
that.
We're with you.
Yes, ma'am.
I hope you guys are getting some
Very well.
information, or I'm just talking.
We are getting it. We are getting the
Okay.
information. ma'am.
We are getting.
Thank you. Now, I've talked about sole proprietorship. I've told you about the advantages, disadvantages. I've told you about the registration and compliance requirements. Now we're going to partnerships. There are different types: general, limited liability. Now, we're going to talk about advantages, disadvantages, registration, and compliance. For limited liability company, that is the LLC you see around. What are the advantages? Access to local knowledge and expertise. Very, very key. Pooling of resources. Shared risk and liability. Flexibility in management and operations. Now, what are the disadvantages? Unlimited personal liability for general partners. Limited control for limited partners. Potential for conflict and dispute. Now where 2 or 3 are gathered, something must give. You will not always see eye to eye. That's just it. Did you get that? And on this, we have, I think I failed to mention that we have general partnerships. All partners share equal responsibility and control. Limited partnerships It has both general and limited partners, with limited partners having no management role at all. And limited liability partnership, it combines flexibility and tax benefits of a partnership with limited liability protection. In all of this, you need the services of a lawyer, you need the services of an accountant. Don't wait till you run into problems before you start making inquiries. It's cheaper to pay consultation fee than to pay litigation fee. All right, so having said that, what are the advantages of a partnership? I've mentioned access to local knowledge and expertise, pooling of resources, shared risk and liabilities, flexibility in management and operations. Okay. I've also told you about the disadvantages. Unlimited personal liability for general partners. I'm repeating this intentionally because many times I see one or two people ask me, I want to go into partnership, and they do not bother to weigh the pros and cons. Limited control for limited partners. Potential for conflicts and disputes. Now, what are the registration and compliance requirements? You need to register with the Corporate Affairs Commission, draft a partnership agreement, obtain necessary licenses and permits. Remember, it says draft a partnership agreement. It's very, very key. Obtain licenses and permits, file annual tax returns, and pay your personal income tax. For limited liability company in Nigeria, what are the advantages? Number one, limited liability protection for members. It protects the members. Flexibility in ownership and management structure. Number two, ability to raise capital through sale of shares. Number three, tax benefits. Number four. What are the disadvantages? More complex and formalities than partnerships. It's so, there's so much that goes into it. Sometimes, that's why lawyers charge a lot of money. People are wondering, what are they doing? Well, for that knowledge, you need to pay. Higher registration and compliance costs, of course. You pay more to register a limited liability company. Potential for conflicts between members. You know that. Now, what is the registration and compliance requirements for a limited liability company? You register CAC. You draft a memorandum and articles of association. You obtain necessary licenses and permits. You file an annual tax return and pay your corporate tax. Okay? Then, of course, you hold your annual general meetings and maintain records. Now, you need to note that the Companies and Allied Matters Act 2020 governs partnerships and limited liability companies in Nigeria. It's essential to consult with a lawyer and legal professional to ensure compliance with the relevant laws and regulations. Now we're coming to public limited company. Moderator, how many minutes do I have before the first week so that I don't see how I can jump?
About 5 more minutes now.
Are you kidding me? Okay, should we do public limited company? I think we should let that pass because I don't think anybody here is right for that. Or what do you think?
Yes, we can keep that.
Yes, I think we should. I'm just going to see how I can pick some things that are necessary for you people before we go on break so that we'll have time for questions. I'm jumping right into, let's see. Well, there's public limited liability. I don't want to go into that. How about starting a business in Nigeria? Let's start there. Good. The registration. Starting a business in Nigeria requires registration with various government agencies, Corporate Affairs Commission. Register your business name, register your company, obtain a certificate of incorporation, register for a tax identification number. Then number two, you also need to find out from either your accountant, your lawyer, or the bank if you require a school certificate, special control unit on money laundering. There's some businesses that require school, and they will tell you it is constantly being updated. So I will not want to give any names now. It is important that you do consultation just before you do your registration. But if you run an NGO here, it is compulsory you must have a school certificate. So register your company, obtain a certificate of registration. Nigeria Investment Promotion Commission, register for a business permit under the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission. Obtain an expatriate quota in case you have Oyibo people. Apologies. Caucasians, I would call them. Some call them Africans, Nigerians will call them Oyibo. Africans will call them the whites. But they call themselves Caucasians. So in case you have Caucasians, you have people from other countries, okay? Let's leave it at that. You need to get an expatriate quota, obtain one. From the Nigerian Investment Promotion Commission, NIPC, the Federal Inland Revenue Service, register for tax identification number, file your tax returns, obtain value added tax number. Without that, you can't even do anything. For additional, if I'm not mistaken. Oh, do I continue then?
Yeah.
I thought that
Yes,
was my
ma'am.
cue for a break.
Please,
Are we not going on a break?
you can go on.
Oh, okay. I thought we were going on a break. All right.
No,
I'm
I
trying.
should be a technical
Okay, issue.
technical
All right. So the additional requirements, like I said, if you have a
Yes, we
patent
will.
control. Okay. So obtain a license from relevant regulatory agencies. Find a business office, the location, issue employment contracts, perform your administrative obligations. Note, of course, that specific requirements may vary depending on the type of business and its location, where you're located in. So it's recommended you consult again with a legal professional to ensure compliance with all relevant regulations. Now, we have licenses and permits. Your business license, your operating permit, other sector-specific licenses. Did you get that? I think you have to move to the next slide. Okay, thank you. So, licenses and permits are essential for businesses in Nigeria to operate legally. We have the business license, which is issued by the government agencies. It authorizes businesses to operate within a specific geographical area. Requirements vary on the state or local government. So you need to find out what is the business license you need where you are located. You see that there's no one rule fits all. Absolutely none. The generic ones are the ones we talked about earlier. But when it comes to your business now, what is the where you are domiciled? What is the business environment speaking? What language is it speaking? You need to speak that language if you are going to excel. Operating permit, which is also known as a business permit, formal document that allows business to operate locally, issued by the Federal Ministry of Interior on behalf of the federal government of Nigeria. Now, we have other sector specific licenses for health. We have the health permits from the National Agency for Food and Drug Administration and Control, NAFDAC. We have educational permits from the Ministry of Education. Environmental permits, which speaks to Shegun again, from the Federal Ministry of Environment or states' environmental protection agencies. We have the health and safety certifications from the Federal Ministry of Health and state health boards. Now, sector-specific licenses from regulatory bodies like the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, and the Nigerian Communications Commission. Import and export licenses from the Nigerian Customs Service. Very, very important. Intellectual property registration with the Nigerian Fire safety certificates, very key, from the state fire service or fire prevention agencies. A lot of people do not even have this. They don't even have a fire extinguisher in their offices. Signage permits from the local authorities. You are wondering, these people that are, I put my sign, they don't even want me to do business. I paid my tax with FIRs. Well, have you gotten your permits from the local business, from the government, the local government of the day? It's important to note that the specific licenses and permits required vary depending on the industry, your location, and of course, the size of your business. So it's recommended, or again, consult a lawyer about it, and make sure that you ensure compliance with all relevant regulations. For business name registration, the requirements, we have talked about that already. Get a unique business name. What is the general nature of your business? The principal place of business. Yeah? Business owner's information. Your name, your email, your phone number, your gender, your occupation, your residence, and of course, your service address. These are what you provide for registration. Valid means of ID, of course. Do I need to go into how a search is conducted? Okay, let me just name it so that you just know, have an idea. Conduct a name availability, reserve a business name, complete pre-registration forms, which are on CSC website. And yes, CSC tells us that you can register by yourself, but we know that it doesn't always function well. You can pay, these are for people who want to try. Pay a filing fee and stamp duties, which is to pay the required fee and stamp duties online or through a bank. Upload documents, yeah. Submit for registration, receive certificates, all of that. So the Corporate Affairs Commission is responsible for business name registration in Nigeria. The registration process can be done online through the CSC website. So they tell us. So they tell us it doesn't always flow. Can you still hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Now, for those of you who want to register a company,
Yes, we can hear you, madam.
Okay, your proposed company name, for those of you who want to register with a limited, it has to end with limited or PLC. But let's start with limited. So your proposed company name ending with limited. All right, anytime you're mute, you feel to mute back. Oh dear, we'll continue to do this as best as we can. All right, so your company name, proposed company name, of course. What type of business do you want to do, private or public? In this case, I don't think anyone yet wants to go public. You are still doing private. Authorized share capital, what is it? What nature, what kind of business do you do? What is the address of your registered office? Article of association and memorandum will need to be submitted. Particulars of directors and secretary. The means of identification for directors, secretary, and shareholders. What do you want to use? You submit it. What is the procedure? Name, document preparation, submission. For those of you who want to try, make your attempt. Review and approval, certificate of incorporation. Now, CSC has a fast track registration process for an additional fee. So, which can expedite the incorporation process to 1 day. It is recommended to engage the services of a legal practitioner again to ensure compliance with all requirements. Now, I want to talk a little bit more about the employment law in Nigeria. Can we move to the next slide, please? Can we move to the next slide, please?
Okay. So the next slide would be the break, so that before we
nice.
do that.
Okay, very good. So that means finally I was able to make it. Thank you so
Thank
very
you
much.
so much, ma'am.
Yes,
Like someone in the comments, I think there were lots of comments when you were speaking. I saw someone that said that this was a very loaded session, and I
it
thoroughly
is.
agree. I'm sure that we all have our power notes filled. I'm sure that many people are their brains are buzzing with questions, or they're already seeing a lot of questions that are going to have to ask in best route forward. So thank you very much, Doctor, experience and your moving on now, we are going to be learning a bit about Rockwheels Limited, the brain behind this very special webinar that Adeyemi, who is an advisory board member of Rockwheels Limited, to share with us about Rockwheel. So please let's still listen in and learn more about what Rockwheel is all about. Thank you very much. All
Wow.
right, Sir
So,
Israel. All right, thank you very much, sir.
good morning, everyone. It's so great and interesting to be here. Thank you so much, Ma. It has been an eye-opening session, sincerely. Have my jotter has already filled with a lot of a lot of questions. Yes, we'll do that later. So we'll quickly do a brief overview of what Rockwheel stands for, and we intend to ensure that your business moves forward. We intend to ensure that we provide solutions to your business, because we discover that most organizations look towards the problem alone. The focus in the society today is the problem. What are the challenges? And do a little bit about the solution. So as an organization, we are looking towards providing accessible solutions to problems that you may encounter in your business. And I want to give it to the visionary of this organization. I want to give it to him. So let me quickly say this. Rockwheels Limited plays a pivotal role in advancing several sustainable goals through its diverse range of services. So we are not providing solutions based on our own intellect alone. We are looking at uh, 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 we are focusing on the sustainable development goals, and we have a lot of them that we are looking at providing more solutions about. We are looking at some of them, like the SDG 8, by enhancing business productivity and competitiveness through capacity development. Just like we are doing, we are providing capacity, giving information to people, letting them know that things they need to put in place before they start their business. And even if they started their business, what are the things they need to put in place to ensure that the smooth running of their business is done? You can see on the screen, we have various segments, we have various departments of the business. We have various departments. So you can just reach out to us, and we will ensure that we actually work with you. Our focus, like I said, is providing solutions. You can contact us on our website, www.rockwheelslimited.com, and on LinkedIn, Rockwheels_limited, and on Instagram, we have at Rockwheels_limited, and even on YouTube. Please go there, share the message on all the social media platforms, and also tag us if you post it on your own platform. We will love to hear from you. We would love to work with you and see a way of providing solutions to business nationwide and across the globe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. And it was very great to learn of the important problem you're solving and how Rockwheels Limited is at the forefront of solving this very problem that we are facing here. So if you have not done so already, this is the slides where you'd see Rockwheels Limited across all social media platforms. We would like everyone to just take out your phones for the next 1 minute to please follow Rockwheel Limited so that it can encourage us to do more going forward. I mean, we are enjoying this very rich food with Dr. Efe, and this is the least we can do to give back to Rockwheel. So please, let's follow Rockwheels on social media so that we can stay updated with other initiatives that is going to be coming up after this one. Great. I'm sure we all have done that now, and we'll still drop a reminder before the end of the session. So we are moving on to continue with Dr. Efe about employment law. Over to you, Ma.
Okay. Thank you so much, Rockwell. This company is very timely, and thank you for stepping out in boldness to do what you're doing. I've known you for a while, and I know you to be a go-getter, Shegun. So I'm so proud of him. Listening to what Rockwell is all about. It's it's what small businesses need to scale up. So thank you, and I want to encourage you. And I'm always here for you. Okay, did I say that too fast? I think I will have to do it because this is you now say you have proof of what I said now. In law, we always say be careful what you say because it can and will be used against you. All right, do I retract what I said now? I need to be careful. And yeah, I need to be careful. Shegun, you're laughing. Okay, I'm not going to look at your face. I will make myself available when able. I think that's a better one. Because Shegun, the way I'm seeing you, I can see the butterflies coming up like, oh, thank goodness. I have witness. Oh my goodness, I'll just keep playing this over and over to her. I'll just take out that snippet and send to her and say, well, you said this, and I have proof. All right then. So thank you, Rockwell, for that. And it's been amazing. And I know that by the grace of God, as you push this forward, you will not make and leave an indelible mark, with what you're doing. And a lot of other people will come on board. So jumping right into slide 6 so that we'll have time for questions. Employment law in Nigeria. Again, we're back to employment law. You're wondering, this employment law said, yes, so it is very important because we all hope to scale up. Nobody wants to be a one-man riot squad in his business. You want to employ a cleaner. You want to employ an office administrator. You want to employ an office assistant. Those days we used to call office assistants errand boys. Now they've also scaled up. They are now called office assistants. They're no longer called they're no longer called errand boys. Everyone is scaling up. So you need to know these laws. That's just it. It's not a choice. And the earlier you know, the better for you. It will help you to shape, it will help you to structure what you're doing. And at the end of the day, you will be grateful for this time out. So for the Labor Act 2004, what are the key provisions? The employer and employee rights and obligations. Employment law in Nigeria is governed by the Labor Act 2004. Like I said, it hasn't been touched since over 20 years. What, 20 years now, really? Which sets out the key provisions, the rights and obligations of employers and employees. Now, I want to share one or two of these things with you so that you can take note of some of these things. Employment contracts must be in writing and include specific terms and conditions. This is under the Labor Act 2004. I've picked out some things that are relevant, or I believe are relevant to you. It must be in writing and include specific terms and conditions. Of course, you must have all this termination clause. You must have start and end. If it's a contract, for how long, when it's reviewed, all of that. Then the minimum wage. What was our last minimum wage? How many people remember? Can anyone tell me?
30,000.
Good. It is there in the law. I'm sure you're thinking they just put 30,000. Now you see now that the Nigerian Labour Union is clamoring for increase to 100,000. If it is approved, it will have to be put down in the law. The minimum wage of 30,000 per month, as per the National Minimum Wage Act 2019. That's to tell you that it was in 2019 that law was enacted. Am I communicating? The 30,000 we're talking about was enacted in 2019. So it is the National Minimum Wage Act. So if this is approved, if what Labour is clamoring for now is approved, there will be a review of that act to 2024 minimum wage. I don't know, am I communicating or have I confused you?
Yes, you are.
Okay, so right now, We are still on what? 30,000 because there's no law that has enacted it. Even when the president says it, the law has to be enacted, the act. So now, maximum working hours are 8 hours. This is what is currently in your law, Nigerian Labour Act. The two of us have now gone into the cocoa now. I'm picking out a few things. Minimum working hours are 8 hours per day and 40 hours per week, minimum, with rest periods and overtime pay. With rest periods and overtime pay. So there's payment for overtime according to law. There are various leave entitlements, including the annual leave, the sick leave, maternity leave, and yes, paternity leave. For some of you who don't even know that there's a paternity leave. And compassionate leave. Somebody dies, you need to travel. Your loved one is very sick and your attention is urgently needed. You need to travel. Those are compassionate leaves. Termination of employment and redundancy laws, including notice periods and severance pay. All these are in the what? Labour Act 2004. Employee benefits and entitlements such as health insurance, pension, and gratuity. They are all stated there. That is part of it. Employee rights and obligations. Now, the employer's rights and obligations are to provide a safe and healthy work environment. Again, we talk about safety and health, and Shego will smile again, as always. So, very key. Pay salaries and benefits, including minimum wage and employee benefits. You see, in the Labour Act, every employer is supposed to pay the minimum wage. So you see how many companies are breaking the laws. And somebody says, wait, I'm not the only one now. Yes, you're not the only one. That is why it is easy when government comes breaking down a company to find so many things that are wrong. Because the day the government will decide to set their sights on your company, a lot of things will come out. And so in order for you not to fall victim to that, when they bring their prying eyes, they'll find your books in order. When they bring their prying eyes, they'll find that your welfareism is in order, safety, order, health, order. You pay your taxes. You know, if you do all you need to do, you have no reason to fear when the government comes knocking on your door. The reason why the average businessman is afraid is because many times most businesses do a lot to circumvent the law. And so they are afraid what the government will find. And if the government will definitely find, we know that. The question now is, what is the penalty? You know, and in some cases, the business is outrightly shut down, you know, which of course could lead to so many things. They fall out, people lose their jobs, their livelihoods, you know, and all that. So safe and health, pay salaries and benefits, including minimum wage and employee benefits. Provide written employment contracts. Again, we are saying it. It doesn't matter how small your establishment is. Provide a contract. Appointment letter followed by contract, and ensure compliance with labor laws. It is important to respect employees' rights to fair treatment. Join trade unions. They have a right to do that and receive payments. You see some companies, they will say you cannot join a trade union. They are trampling on the rights of the employee. And there are many companies in Nigeria today that are doing that. Even blue chip companies, I dare to say, they will tell you that if you join a union, boom, you're out. If that employee knows their rights, they can decide to report such a company even if it's anonymously, to Nigerian Labour Congress, the NLC. And for your information, NLC is everywhere. Some people say, NLC Abuja, who told you? There's NLC Lagos chapter. There's a chapter in your local government where you stay. You just don't know where they are, but they are there. If you ask questions, you will find out. That's the truth. They say anybody who is willing and ready to ask questions is definitely not going to miss their way. True or false? Right? So ask questions so that you can know. If you don't ask questions, there's absolutely no way you will know what's going on. So they have a right to fair treatment. They have a right to speak against discrimination and harassment, both sexually or otherwise. That's the employee rights. They have a right to join trade unions, like I said, and employee associations. They have a right to receive payment and benefits. What is their obligation as your employees? Their obligation is to perform their duties and responsibilities as agreed in the employment contract. Do you see now the importance of an employment contract? If you do not give an employment contract, do they know what they are supposed to do? Because in your employment contract, what they are supposed to do is spelled out in the employment contract. So how would they know what they are supposed to do if there's no employment contract? That's how important it is. You must have an employment contract. Now, the Labor Act 2004 and other labor laws in Nigeria aim to promote fair labor practices. It protects employees' rights. It fosters a positive work environment. Both employers and employees must understand and comply with these laws to avoid legal issues and ensure harmonious workplace, of course. Now we move on to employment contracts. What are the various types of employment contracts? Employment contracts. Now jumped. Don't worry, you'll find it. Well, we won't wait for you, but I know you will find it. All right, so put it all under employment, yes. No, go back. You take it easy, be slow on that. Slide 6, employment. Put it under employment law. Slide 6. It's under slide 6. Did you get that? So stay there. Stay under slide 6. All right, so employment contracts, what are they? The different types, the permanent, temporary contracts. What are the terms and conditions? So employment contracts in Nigeria are governed by the Labor Act. Again, Labor Act of 2004. And it's categorized in 3 main categories. There are 3 types. Number 1, permanent employment contract. A permanent employment contract. Write that down. This is a long-term contract with no fixed end date, offering job security and benefits. That's what it does. Then the temporary employment. This is a short contract, short-term contract with a specific end date. It's often used for seasonal or project-based work. For example, a company employs you for a project, and once the project is over, automatically your employment is terminated because you were brought in because of the project. So it's temporal. Then we have the contract employment, which is a fixed term contract with a specific end date, and it is used for specific projects or assignments. Some of these blue chip companies are doing it. They will do 2 years so that you can reapply again. If they don't like your face, They say no, which of course does not give job security. Now, what are terms and conditions? Your job title and description. It clearly outlines the employee's role and responsibilities. Now, I'm giving you what should be in your contracts. That's what I'm telling you now. Please pay very close attention. It doesn't matter if you have just one employee. You must have this there. What is the job title and description? It must be contained in that employment contract letter. Clearly outline the employee's role and responsibilities. Number 2, remunerations and benefits. It must include salary, it must include allowances, it must include benefits like health insurance and pension. Number 2. Number 3, what are the work hours? Are they going to work till infinity? Work till whenever we close, you close? No. The Labor Act does not allow that. Remember, it talks about at least 8 hours a day. That's the Labor Act law. So specifying working hours, rest periods, annual leave, sick leave, and other types of leave, you must specify. Then, if there's a case of termination, or there has to be termination, what is the condition for termination? Outlining conditions for termination, you must state it in the letter. Notice periods and severance pay. Because the person has to know why. If you don't do this, these are the grounds for termination. It is in your contract letter. I'm sure you hear people say, did you not read your contract letter? It is stated there that if you come to work at 9 p.m. 3 times, you will be sacked. It is stated there, and you signed that letter, meaning that you have agreed to the terms, because that's the meaning. Probationary period, a trial period to assess employee performance before confirming employment. It is stated there. You have to state it there that this employment is on, it's conditional. You state it there. So they know that, okay, probation period is 3 months. Probation period is 1 month. Probation period is 6 months. It depends on what you're doing. Every company is unique in itself. One rule does not fit all. Don't say because Lagbaja made his 6 months, you also make your 6 months. No, it may not apply to you. That's the truth. Confidentiality and non-disclosure, very important. Please, if you don't remember anything, add this, so that an employee does not leave your establishment and go and reveal your trade secrets to another company. Because under law, he is punishable or she is punishable. So they must sign the confidentiality and non-disclosure form. Protecting employers' confidential information and trade secrets, very key. Now, there will always be disputes because you are humans. Sometimes you can't resolve it by yourself. So, dispute resolution. What is the procedures for resolving employment-related disputes? You need to include it. What is the governing law? Well, you are in Nigeria, so obviously the law of Nigeria will govern the contracts. Employment contracts in Nigeria must be in writing and signed by both parties to be legally binding. Remember, I gave you an example before of somebody who tried to be smart. Please, when you give an employment letter, especially if you are the boss, make sure your employee signs that letter. The Labor Act and other relevant laws regulate employment contracts, ensuring fair labor practices and protecting employees' rights. Oh, yes. The workers' rights, of course, minimum wage, leave, termination. The workers' rights in Nigeria are protected by the Labor Act 2004, normal, and other laws which stipulates, number 1, minimum wage, 30,000. That is covered by the National Minimum Wage Act 2019. That means this 30,000 now that you are hearing was enacted in 2019. That was when it was approved. Sometimes we hear that they are trying to fight over certain things. And when the president has made the pronouncement, the law takes a bit, maybe like 6 months or 7 months or even almost a year. And then you hear that it takes effect from so dates. It will be in the law. So it can take effect from that day. So that means there are 6 months arrears to be paid or 7 months arrears. I always tell people that when there's a new law enacted and you can pay, please pay it. That's it. Now, Nigeria is an amazing country. We all know that a lot of things go wrong, and many of these things are not even followed, even by people you expect to know better. Applicable to all employees, including casual and temporary workers. That's the minimum wage. Annual leave, 12 days after 1 year of service to 24 days after 5 years of service. That is the law. And repeat, annual leave, 12 days after 1 year of service to 24 days after 5 years of service. Sick leave, 12 days after 6 months of service. Maternity leave, 12 weeks for female employees only. 12 weeks maternity leave. And those of you who have never heard of paternity leave, it does exist. And yes, it is for 2 weeks. 2 weeks. I know some men are smiling there and say, oh, really? I'm just going to go and tell my organ now, say, I just had a baby. And the law says that I am entitled to 2 weeks. At least I should have 2 weeks leave. Yes, that's what the law says, actually. So, whoever is writing this fee, that's what you very important to help. I said paternity leave is 2 weeks. Then compassionate leave is 3 days. Really emergencies. Remember, you can still come back and take your property to do that. Compassionate leave. All of this you must have. Termination. Remember, I'm going into details about this, but all of these things are contained in your contract, your employment letter to your staff. It sounds a lot now because I'm explaining it in detail so that you won't be lost. You know exactly what you're writing. Termination. Notice period, 1 month for permanent employees. For temporary employees, 7 days. It's not who permanent employees are, who temporary employees are. For permanent employees, 1 month. Temporary employees, 7 days. Severance pay, equivalent to 1 week's salary for every year of service. You want to severe, well, if the person you want to say, okay, we've had enough, you've given them 1 month's notice, mind you, but it doesn't mean that you will not pay the severance pay money. You will. Then termination without notice, only in cases of serious misconduct or criminal offense. In the case of, please know the reasons for termination. Serious misconduct or criminal offense. Unfair termination. Employees can contest termination through the National Industrial Courts. I repeat again. You don't just go to any courts. You go to the National Industrial Court. The person I was telling you about in this blue chip company that I said the HR reached out to me, the company reached out for consultation. It was the industrial court that was handling the case. So there are special courts for this. Don't worry, we'll get to that where I'll just point out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so that you have an idea. Now, what are your additional rights? Equal pay for equal work. For this, a lot of women have been disenfranchised. When you see that a man who is not even doing as much as they are doing is paid higher than them, you have a right to take it up legally. So equal pay for equal work. Protection against discrimination and harassment, sexual harassment at work. It's not only women. that are sexually harassed at work. Men are also sexually harassed at work. Where your boss wants to sleep with you and begins to put hurdles in your path because you have said no, or you have, attempted to be civil and you are avoiding her. These are the rights of workers or employees. Right to join trade unions and participate in collective bargaining. You can send a representative from your company to the trade union who will speak on behalf of your company. Access to social security benefits, such as pension and health insurance. That's a pension and insurance scheme in place. There are so many. The federal government has made it easy. Maybe before the end of this, I'm trying to remember, the name just skipped my mind as I mentioned pension. I'm trying to remember a government pension scheme that is fantastic, that most people are not even aware of. If your employee, you just pay a certain amount every year for each employee. And if they have an accident, whatever, the government takes care of the bills, even if it is 100 times more than what you have paid. I can tell you that authoritatively. A lot of people are not aware of that pension scheme. I'm going to try and find it out. Maybe when I'm done, I'll check my records again. Because, yeah, you guessed that right. I think it's NSTIF. Yeah, but I'll get their full names. And when I say you guessed that right, for this year, I'm owing. So I will have to go back and go and pay for my employees for this year. We have a pension scheme, and all that is so that, God forbid, if something happens, the company will not have to take the fall. The government will through the pension scheme, NSITF. Yes, that's right, NSITF. Could you write the full name so that people can go and Google it? That's it. Write it out so people can go Google it later. Get it, go there, go and register your company. There's so many pension stuff that Nigerians can take advantage of. There's another one I'll try to remember that give some incentives also to small business owners. All of these things were put in place for small business owners so that the load will not be too much. It will not crush you. Because you will not be able to run a business if you are busy attending to, all of these things. That's just the truth. So we will get to see how we can get more of those things running up before we leave. These rights, like I said, are enforceable by law, and employers must comply with them to avoid legal consequences. So employees should be aware of their rights and seek legal recourse if they are violated. Where? In the industrial courts. You must remember. Now, what are employer obligations? You are an employer, you've registered your company. What are your obligations? Taxes. Please pay your tax. Safety and health. I'm sure you can consult with Shegun on safety. He'll be willing and happy to tell you what to do. As long as, of course, it's a business, so you need to pay a consultation fee. Very, very key. Here, what do you have in place for your staff? Training and development. What we're doing here is training and development on another scale, of course. When your employees have a right to be trained and developed. So from time to time, you will train them. Employer obligation in Nigeria includes tax, like I said, pay as you earn, tax deductions from employee salaries, you must. Remit taxes to the Federal Inland Revenue. File annual taxes. For safety and health, we talked about that. Provide a safe work environment, yeah. Conduct risk assessment and implement control measures. Provide personal protective equipment and safety training. Bam. Again, Shegun is smiling. You see, Shegun. Oh my goodness, it's like this webinar is just for you. What can I say? So it is very, very important. You cannot run and avoid it. Yeah. Provide personal protective equipment. Comply with the Nigerian Occupational Safety and Health Regulations, NOSH. You must. For training and development, provide induction training for new employees. Don't just drop them into the company Let them understand the policy. And do you even have a company policy? Well, that's another take entirely. I don't want to go into that. Every company should have a company policy. So please provide an induction training for your employees. Offer regular training and development programs for them. Provide opportunities for career advancement and promotions. Comply with the Nigerian Industrial Training Fund. Good. That's another one, regulations. Nigerian Industrial Training Fund. Please go there. That was the name I was also trying to remember. You need to register there. The Nigerian Industrial Training Fund. Go there. Go and register. I didn't even know I put it here. I thought I had omitted it, but I omitted the other one. Nigerian Industrial Training Fund. Very, very important. Compliance with labor laws and regulations. Very key. Maintenance of accurate employee records. Provision of employee benefits. Health, insurance, pension. Compliance with data protection regulations. You do not share the confidential information of your employees to just anyone. No. Even if it's by law, they have to come with a court. You have to see, you have to read it in black and white. The courts have to give permission for that. Come with court documentation to show that they have and it's usually the police or a regulatory arm of government trying to investigate something. An individual cannot just come and say, okay, you know what? I want to know, where does Mary live? Give me the contact details of Mary. No, you would have broken the law by doing that. So data protection, very key. Ensuring equal opportunities and non-discrimination, man, woman, no. If you are a sexist, you're found out. Yes, and people like me know about you, we will call you out. So please, everybody deserves equal treatment. Remember, we have talked about that. Equal money for equal work. So the money must be commensurate with the work that has been put in. Employers must prioritize their obligations to ensure a safe, healthy, and productive work environment. Okay? Comply with relevant laws and regulations and avoid legal and financial consequences because it can be terrible. Terrible. And now, as we're moving closer to the end, we have the intellectual property protection. Slide 7. You are not on slide 7, are you?
Sorry, Ma. We have a limited time remaining. So if you could please round up so we can take some Q&A for the
Okay.
end of the session.
All right, fine.
Thank you very
I'm
much.
going to jump. Good. I'm going to jump right in and see how I can rush that. So I will just pick on one or two things and then we'll move on. Intellectual property protection in Nigeria. This should have been split into two. Shegun, you know, this is a lot. All right, so we have trademarks, protection. We talked about the name. I think I'm just going to leave it at what I've talked about it earlier. I wanted to go into detail, but there's really no time for that, you know. Infringement and enforcement. Let's talk about that. This occurs when someone uses an identical or similar mark without consent or causing confusion. Enforcement options include opposition, cancellation, cease and desist, search and seizure, legal action, damages, injunction, account of profits. I don't want to go into all that. You can get the proceeds back if they have infringed on your rights. Okay, so I'm just going to scroll through copyright. Yeah, remedies, damages, injunctive reliefs. Okay, we have patents. Taxation in Nigeria, we've talked about that in detail, so we'll just keep that. And the various taxes. I'm trying to see, we have tax holidays, tax incentives in Nigeria granted to companies that engage in pioneering activities or products. Exempts companies from paying income tax for a specific period, usually 3 to 5 years, aimed at encouraging innovation and investment in strategic sectors. So tax holidays exempt companies from paying income tax for a specified period of 3 to 7 years, aimed at attracting investment in specific industries or regions. The other incentives, investment tax allowance, capital allowance, research and development. These are all exempts from tax. Export incentives, free trade zone, most of you know that. Agricultural incentives, infrastructural incentives, dispute resolution. Let's talk a bit about that. The courts. I've told you, for courts, the apex court is Supreme Court, Court of Appeal, Federal High Court, State High Court, Magistrate Courts, customary courts for traditional and cultural disputes. The procedures, writs of summons, service of process, they're all different. We are not a lawyer, but I was going to give you a little update on that. And maybe next time, if we have a follow-up, I may just touch up on one or two of these things. Because these are things you need to know. It will help you. The mediation and conciliation, agreement to mediate, parties agree to mediate, appointment of a mediator, mediation session, negotiation, settlement agreement. I'm rushing through everything. Alternative dispute resolution, some of you know that. Advantages, cost-effective, faster resolution, flexibility, confidentiality, preservation of relationships, expertise, enforceability. And when I say expertise, ADR neutrals often have specialized knowledge in specific fields. So when it is being constituted, they'll bring somebody who is a specialist in that field. There are disadvantages: limited legal recourse, lack of formal rules, dependence on neutral, power imbalance, limited discovery, cultural or linguistic barriers, enforceability. Now, conclusion. A recap, of course, is basically the overview, the legal structure which you have, starting a business, employment law, intellectual property, taxation, disputes resolution, the importance of understanding business law. Again, is to navigate the legal landscape, make informed decisions, and avoid legal pitfalls. This is very, very important. And I know that with this, we come to the end. But very quickly, I just want to say it helps with legal compliance, protection of rights, business decisions, investor confidence, economic growth, job creation, international trade, dispute resolution, regulatory compliance, and so sustainability. We talk about the developmental goals. Thank you for having me. Stay informed and stay protected. Never too late.
Thank you so much, Dr. A. It's been a very informative session. I mean, we can listen to you, we can go on and on. It's interesting, it was educative, and we all are fully loaded. In fact, it's like we all carry certificate after this session to become junior baristas. Very interesting. And I like the fact that it's not just for entrepreneurs, even those that are employed to have learned a lot from the session. At least now we know our rights, know what we're asking for when we are going Euro. So thank you. The chat box has been buzzing with a lot of questions. Just take a few because of time. I will pick the one.
The company laws differ depending on the kind of business you are registering. If it's a sole proprietorship or a partnership, then the different laws apply. Taking this question is like going back and repeating what I said at the beginning. So to answer your question, no, there's no difference. It all depends on what kind of business you are registering. Is it a limited liability company? Is it a sole proprietorship, which you call it many times a business name registration? They all have different laws that govern them. So you just need to be on the lookout for it. Most importantly, consult a lawyer before you go forward in registering so that you know your options. Like I've stated, I try to go into those options so that you'll be more informed. Then Dangote, well, if you do remember, I said in one of our sessions, and we will not call names because those are private entities, so we need to be careful. I said that not all blue chip companies or companies have compliance. And I think going through, number 3 answers number 2. It says, these laws, do they apply to private laws or is it just public? It applies to both private and public laws. But I also explained to all of you that in Nigeria, most companies, and I first said 99.9, then I changed it to 95, are not complying. So it is whoever is called out that becomes what? The witch hunted, in quotes, so to speak. And if the government wants to do their due diligence, they know what to do. That's why you see sometimes when a big company or a blue chip company is called out, people will say, oh, the government is witch hunting. The question is, if you have complied, will there be grounds to witch hunt you? You have not complied now. So anybody can come and take advantage of your non-compliance. Have I answered the question? Whoever asks those questions, please unmute your mic and answer, because it's very important that you get this. Whoever asks those questions, you can just say, have I answered the question?
Yes, very well. Very well.
Thank you. All right then. So
Thank you. I'll just take one last question, and that's the one from Bruyo. He says, for an employee, what are things to look out for in negotiations?
are you kidding me? Did you not listen to everything I said now? It's all
So maybe
stated
just
there.
high points.
For an employee.
Yes, ma'am.
Well, in your contract, first and foremost, when you are doing a contract as an employee, I had told you before that it was very important for you to know your rights, know your date of time. What kind of employment do you have? Do you have an employment that is what do you call it? A permanent employment or a temporary one or a contract? It has to be stated there. If you don't understand the kind of contract you have, you're not able to know which one applies to you or not. So it's very, very important you know the type of contract that you have. Number 2, what are the terms and conditions? Are you allowed to go on leave? When are you allowed to go on leave? Do you have paternity leave as a man? Because if you're a man, you need to find out if they comply. Number 2, is it a contract, a temporary appointment, or a permanent appointment? All of those 3 things have 3 different conditions for you. So it is very important you know which of them you fall under. Based on that, then we go through. Somebody kindly puts in the box about the number of days for paternity, for maternity. You can look at all those. It's there in the box, because I don't want to keep repeating what I have said before. And then, of course, resumption time, terms of termination of contract, if there's going to be a termination, when and how. Like I said, all this is subject, again, to your kind of employment. Your kind of employment determines the kind of letter you get. If it is what you call casual workers and temporary workers, that's what most of us here call casual workers and contract workers. A permanent staff is entitled to pension. A contract staff or a temporary worker does not have such such access. It's not that they don't, but most employees are not duty bound because of the nature of the employment that is given. And so that's why I said, what kind of employment? I would have better answered your question if you had said, for somebody with a permanent employment, or for somebody with a temporary employment, or for somebody with a contract.
Sorry, can I throw more light to the question? It's not that I didn't follow what all you're saying. Yeah, I'm the one that asked actually. So apparently, what I'm trying to say is that there might be obviously things that's already in contract but a lot of times if even though you know these things, you can't really fight some of these companies or fight some of your bosses because of the thing. Yeah, thank God that there's something like this that can really help you to broaden your understanding of
Knowledge.
how it was. But so when you now really come to this negotiation, because everyone wants to be on the win-win situation, you don't want to look too demanding that is maybe because what that why you're doing, you want to take the job in the first place, or you're basically coming in to come and help the company. But at the same time, how do you really take in those negotiation tables? How do you really look out for those things that will really, at the end of the day, you'll feel better that you are not being cheated? Because I see that a lot of times with employees, they try to play their blackmail, emotional blackmail, being that they will tell you that you can, when you go out there, there are not many jobs out there and everything. And as an employee, you will try to play to be on the safe side so you don't lose the job. But at the same time, you are not really for what maybe I don't know, maybe for you, because that measuring your worth is in different criteria, but for what it is, they will just see that okay, because there's not much job there, or you think that when you leave, you're going to take you a while to get it. You just have to agree to the terms they give to you, or maybe the terms you will see just a paperwork and they don't really follow through. So how do you, because going through this kind of thing, how do you now really hold and stand up for your right that this is what I know, or this is what I think should be accrued to me as an employee in your negotiation table? That's what I'm trying to ask actually.
Well, excuse me. I think this has more to do with confidence and belief in yourself and what you can deliver. You know, to have a win-win situation, the company has to be brought to a place where they feel they cannot lose you as an employee. And that is a whole different lecture, building your self-confidence. Because it is only when that they believe you are bringing value to the table that they'll be ready to shift. Nobody is going to shift ground if you look frightened and you look like, this job, I really need it. Please give it to me. I'm begging you. What have you done? You have put yourself at a disadvantage. But if you are going to be at an advantage, you need to let the company know what added value you'll be bringing to the company if they employ you. It has nothing to do with the taxes on ground. The taxes on ground, that is the law. Now, if you want to go with the law, like you said, yes. Oh, some people will say, well, are you the only one? Are you this? And then there will be snitches. There might be snitches within the company who will go and snitch on you to the management and all of that. But those all have to do with work rules and ethics, which is not what we are discussing here. It has to do with the way you handle your work, your disposition to work, the way you work with your colleagues, and of course, more importantly, you have to build yourself. So it has nothing to do with the legal requirements. The legal requirement is exactly what it is. Whether people are following the rules or not, that is the legal requirement by law. That is the legal requirement. You saying, well, the company, you don't want them to take advantage. Well, I would say that whatever you are given, read it carefully. Because what most companies do, which is wrong, and I make bold to say that, and I'm speaking generically, that, okay, no, let me not call any company name. There are some big companies that will put your terms and conditions in very small letters. And they don't allow you take it back home to read. And you don't even understand what you are agreeing to or signing to. They just tell you, append your signature, and then that's it. Now, for such companies, you need to take your time and look at some of those clauses, especially the ones in fine prints, because that is really where the cocoa is. Anything you see in fine print, they are hiding something from you. If it's something you cannot tolerate, it's better to walk away. You will get another job. It's a fallacy to believe that there are no jobs out there. No, there are many jobs out there. The challenge a lot of people have is that they do not have employability skills, which I think is one of the areas too, Shagun, you may want to look into, employability skills. That is the problem a lot of people have. And so the company, when they go for interviews, the company is not satisfied, doesn't like what they hear, doesn't want anything to do with this person, and doesn't feel that this person fits the kind of person they want in their company. and this person is definitely not bringing any value to their company. So I don't know. Does this help, Alaba Oluwafemi? Oh, sorry, you are not the one asking the question.
Very well said. Yeah, I get your point.
Okay, Bruyo, it was
Yeah,
me.
very well
All
said. I
right.
get the point. Yeah.
Okay.
So, but the other add one, like maybe because the reason why I asked that question because I kind of leave my job and my company said that they can't let me go because I'm adding a lot of value. But at the same time, I know that if I really want to demand what I need, it will more like it's more like this guy you're just coming for a lot of it's just all about you're not really thinking about the company good again. But I know my value, I know my worth and everything. But I'm just trying to ask this question so that we will be on a safe side so that it doesn't look as if you are just all about the money or all about yourself.
Well,
But then you also
if the company is making enough to the best of your knowledge, and you see that there's progress. For example, if the company decides to acquire a new fleet of buses for the company that they don't really need, they're just replacing the old one, you know that the company is making money. Of course, you have a right to demand higher pay. You do. This has purely got to do with you as an individual, like I said. And a lot of factors come to play. What is if the company, for example, is struggling, it will be unfair and selfish of you to make more demands. But if the company is flourishing and the company director is flying first class to different parts of the world, my goodness, and you are the cash cow making the money for the company, you have every right, absolutely every right to demand more. But not in a quarrelsome way, not by giving those examples, but by drawing attention to what value, additional value you can bring to the company. And of course, incentives are always a way of making increasing, or should I say, accelerating performance in any company. All right, so that's it. I see that Shagun has taken over as host. What's going on?
All right. Thank you very much, Ma. And
Okay.
thank you, Bruyo, for that very interactive Q&A. It was a very nice session. So it's been a great time here. We've been able to learn on leave today's session very much impacted. All right. Well done. And a feedback form has been shared on the chat in the chat box. Please let's all do well to fill it so we can know how we can do better to serve you when we have sessions like this next time. Dr. Ife, we want to say a very big thank you to you for sharing of your time, for giving of yourself. The energy was 100 all the way. We truly appreciate you. Thank you for your time. I've learned so much on how to do better in structuring my business the legal way. And I would just like to close today's session with this quote I read this morning. Somewhere it says, make a lawyer your best friend as a business person. And now with your explanation, I've been able to see why that is very crucial. Thank you so much for sharing from your wealth of knowledge. Once more, please, if you have not filled the feedback form, do well to fill it right about now. I'll be dropping it once more in the chat. And also, if you had not followed Rockwheels Limited on social media, please also do well to follow us now with links Rockwheels Limited across all social media platforms so that you can be updated when we have webinars like this, informative and educative as always. Yes, we've been seeing questions. Are you going to get slides? Am I going to get? Okay, over to you, boss.
Thank you very much, Peace, for actually piloting the affairs of this webinar. We really appreciate you. Thank you. Dr. Ife, thank you very much. I can't thank you enough. I know I can always run to your